Most people think about connection as amazing chemistry. It's just finding the one, the person. It's just all good. But the reality is that they're getting that completely wrong. The truth is, a lot of people are actually blocking true connection when it comes to dating because they're trying to people please, overperform, following the stupid rules that I talk a lot about on this podcast, because that's what they think real connection is built upon. I'm going to be freaking real with you right now because that's how I do it on Carla Turned On. Real connection is not from oversharing. Real connection is not from people pleasing. It's not just like the chemistry. I will say this right now. We are going to be diving exactly into how to build real connection when it comes to dating, because this is something that people get wrong so freaking often. I have coached over 1,000 clients, and I can tell you right now, this is the number one thing of connection. How do I build connection? What do I talk about? How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. We're going to be diving all into how to build actual connection so that you have something to go do after this when you go on dates, so it doesn't have to feel confusing, isolating, alone, and lonely. Alone and lonely. Yeah, and okay, that works too, because it can really feel alone and lonely, alone and lonely. Okay. Whatever I'm trying to say there. And then, of course, we're going to get into our taco section, which is talking about coming and orgasm. That's what taco stands for. And I am going to be going into sexual insecurities that a lot of people have. And that hopefully will at least normalize it for you. If you're like, oh my God, yeah, that's me too. Yeah, I'm worried about that when I have sex, or I'm even worried about that through intimacy. It doesn't even have to just be sex. But first, welcome to Carla Turned On, where dating and relationships get real, sex gets talked about, and the BS gets left on red. Let's get turned on. I want you to have successful dates. I want you to be able to stop listening to this podcast. Well, actually, we do cover relationship stuff. So maybe once you enter into the relationship phase, you're like, no, I'm not going to skip over the relationship stuff. Even though I would like to say, if you are new here, welcome to Carla Turned On. And if you're like, Carla, I've hung out with you before, welcome back to the party. Thanks for joining. I will say this, though. I want you to be able to be in the mindset that dating doesn't suck. Be in the mindset that you're dating very confidently, because that is my number one goal. This is why I do the podcast. And if you want to give us a little review, please, please, please give us a little 5-star rating. Go ahead and write a little review. I love reading what people have to say about the podcast. Wherever you are listening, write me yow. And if you're like, Carla, I want to work with you, I do offer an Ask Me Anything one-on-one coaching program. I do a dating profile makeover. And I also have 2 different guides. No Filter, the sex guide every dater needs. And then I also have Swipe Match Spark, the ultimate dating app guide. So long story short, you can find that in the show notes, or you can go to carlaromo.com and learn about it there. But I am going to go over right now 3 different ways to actually build real connection when it comes to dating. Yes, how to actually build the connection, not the connection you think that you should be doing, because there is a massive difference there. Number 1, just stop performing. Okay? Stop trying to sound impressive or stop downplaying yourself. A lot of women fall into this problem. They're like, well, I talk about my success in my career or financial success or whatever success it might look like. I don't know, something athletic. It doesn't matter. And they're like, I've gotten really negative responses from men, so I try to downplay it. Okay, any guy who is confident in themselves, and dudes who are listening, you probably are agreeing with this, would not be intimidated by that. They would be like, oh, this is cool. This is awesome. Whoa, I love this about her. What a power couple we could be. This would be great to find somebody who has their shit together in this space, or who's career driven and is done really well. That shows a lot about the type of person she is, versus, oh my gosh, what would that say about me? Does that emasculate me? And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. No, that's not somebody who's secure in themselves. Okay. So when I say performing, it can be underperforming or overperforming. Then you feel like, oh, well, I'm not adequate or I'm not enough. So now I have to overshare about something. No, that does not create anything in terms of connection. Another big one. Whew. Okay. Overthinking your response. That's another one here. Yeah. Overthinking. Any overthinkers in the house? Because yep, I've definitely been there, done that myself before, where I'm like, oh, what should I say? No, this is the mentality. I want to know, do they fit into my life? Not do I fit into their life? Stop coming from a place of, I need to make sure I'm performing. I need to make sure I look good. I need to make sure I'm, have the perfect response to them. That's BS. You need to evaluate, do they fit into my life? Not so much I'm trying to impress, I'm trying to perform. All of these things of treating a date like an interview. Oh my gosh, womp, womp, womp. That's boring, right? Nobody wants to feel like you're in an interview. It's so awkward. And the other things too, when it comes to this, is like you want to create the connection. You do not want to create disconnection. But if you go into dating in this mentality of, yeah, it's like an interview or saying what you think they want you to hear, that is performance. Like these are different ways that you might perform. And I'm not hating on you if this is you. I have absolutely checked some of these boxes off myself before when I was dating years and years ago, especially when I was in my codependency phase. I can tell you right now, like I didn't feel secure with myself. Okay. So like if you notice these things, or I have this a lot of clients come to me, men and women, and they're just lost. They get so much information from friends or TikTok said this. And I'm like, dude, like, no, that's going to create disconnection. I swear some of these creators out there want you staying signal, nah, I can't talk right now. Single. There we go. She did it. Can we get an applause, please? I was able to say it. No, but I mean, the reality is like you have to come from a place of you and not them. It's a you based, not a them based. And if they don't like that you are talking about yourself in a way that makes you feel good, that's a red flag. You do not want to go on a date with somebody. Like you're not going to have connection anyways if they don't like that. And you're not going to have connection if you try to perform. You hear what I'm saying? So you might as well just show up as yourself. And one last thing I will say, because I think this part is so important that people miss. If you try to be somebody else or you hold back in any way or overperform or whatever, underperform, doesn't matter. I will say this, that person is falling in love with the wrong person. They're not actually falling in love with you. And so all of a sudden, when the real you whips around, whoa, they're going to be really confused. And that could actually end things and ruin things for you. So just keep that in mind. Number 2, be curious instead of trying to win at dating. So this can look like things of asking follow-up questions. Yes, you want to ask follow-up questions. Men and women. I will say this. I'm not trying to hate on you guys. Like when I say guys, I mean men. Okay. But I have had a lot of women clients express that sometimes this is like sort of like you're talking about complaints from men, complaints from women, that women will say, and this is not everybody. Okay. I guarantee you. So like if you're like, what? No, I don't do that. You probably don't 100%. Okay. But a lot of women will say like, I felt like he talked about himself and never actually asked me questions about me. Or he just like shared about him. Like I'd ask him a question, he just share about himself and it would just become about him versus about me. So be mindful of that. And this goes for women too. Sure, there's women as well that don't ask questions. Like it is up to you to ask questions. But I also think too, from like a guy's perspective, just be mindful of that. Like asking questions, asking follow-up questions is a really big thing. Women are taught in like society to be more curious and learn about like somebody or whatever. And guys are kind of not in the sense of socialization. I don't know if you're catching what I'm trying to say here, but it makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you. This one is going to be big, but I'm going to tell you like, listen to your body. How do they make you feel? That is going to determine so much here because you want to sit curious. And if they're making you feel really good, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, like this feels good. Like I feel good with this person. I feel safe. I feel like I can share. I feel like I can be myself. You got green flags, baby. Like this is a beautiful thing. This is really, really good. I can tell you right now, I'm going to digress for a moment here. I will tell you that when I was dating, I would check in with my body. Like, how do I actually feel right now? Because sometimes I would always do this. I would never make up my mind of whether or not I was going to go on a second date or not, obviously, unless there was red flags and it was fucking weird, which I've definitely had that experience. But I just told myself, I was like, I'm not going to decide whether there's a second date or not, like on this first date until after I go home or walk away from this person, right? So I'm going to just be open and present. But one of the things I evaluated is like how I was feeling in the moment. So I was present with myself. And that was so helpful because if I was like, oh, this person's like really kind or it's like exciting, or I feel like a calmness, but an intrigue, or I feel like this person's really nice and caring. I don't know, whatever. I'm actually thinking about my husband when I kept saying like nice and caring. Because I'll give you guys this example. When we were on our first date, I was talking about how I started my business and my dating and relationship coaching business. Hello. And how I started it. And instead of him being like, oh, whoa, okay. And some guys had interesting reactions to that for sure. And I'll talk about that maybe another time if you're interested. But my husband gave me like he's like saw me. He didn't act weird about it. Instead, he was like, "Wow, that takes a lot of courage to start your business and do something like that." And I was like, "Whoa, this dude gets it." I was like, "He's not sitting here like, oh, whoa, does that mean that you're analyzing our date right now? Ha ha ha." No, he was like, "Whoa, I see like the step you took. That's like courageous." And I was just like, "Fuck yeah, this is awesome." It made me feel really good and it made me feel seen. So it's just things like that that you want to evaluate. I know I digress, but and if you didn't want to listen, I guess you can always skip forward next time. Or you already skipped forward and now we're here. All right. Now, the other thing I'll say too is that when you are going into a date and you're trying to just kind of think about things to talk about yourself. That is also going to create connection here. Like when you're curious, talk about, now then you're like, but Carla, you just said, don't talk about yourself, ask questions. Okay, this is the thing. You want to talk about your hobbies because you're coming from a me place. I'm curious, do we have things in common? So talk about your hobbies and then ask follow-up questions. Have you ever hiked before? Is that something that you like is the outdoors? You can ask the questions back. And if they're like, no, I don't hike, but I really love playing pickleball. Cool. Tell me about pickleball. What is it that you love about it? And maybe you guys don't do the same thing, but all of a sudden you're creating connection because you're curious about what drives them. And you're like, oh my God, it's the same reason I love hiking. Like just to kind of like ease your mind from work and just be able to get out and do something fun and like have your brain shut off and just enjoy it. Right. So make sure like you're going in with that curiosity, that mindset. It's important. And I'm just going to be real. People feel connected when they feel seen. So if you can put your guard down, right? Like don't do any of the shit that we talked about in number 1, but we're talking here about leaning in with the curiosity, being able to explore, asking the questions, let the conversation even breathe a little bit, not feeling like I said earlier, you don't want it to feel like a freaking interview, but giving some room to like explore and have some pauses. A lot of people hate the awkward silence. Look, awkward silence is normal. It's part of communication. It's part of getting to know somebody. It's part of also feeling comfortable with somebody, but you don't know this person yet. And there's so much vulnerability on a first date or second date or whatever date that you're on, right? But I will tell you this right now that when you lean in and you get open and you leave room for breathing, literally breathing, but like you leave some room for awkward pauses and silences and things like that, you let things naturally flow versus it feeling forced down your throat and like, oh my God, this is not fun. I don't like peas. Why am I eating peas right now? True story. I actually really like all different types of food. I'll just be straight up with you. I know you really care, but I was like thinking about this. Are you somebody who's a picky eater? Genuinely, I am not judging you if you are. So I genuinely believe, I was talking with my sister about this the other day, that I believe people who are picky eaters have some kind of like taste bud, like it's actually real. Like their taste buds do not like the taste of food. Sort of like people who like, I know we're not in the taco section, we're going to talk about cilantro. People who don't like cilantro because it tastes like soap, they've proven it really is like a hereditary taste bud thing. Okay. So I'm just thinking here, like people who are more open to foods, like I think you have different types of taste buds. And I'm just going to say this as somebody who loves to eat and really eats all different types of food. Like I said, peas, I will eat peas. Sometimes it comes in risotto. Um, or like chicken pot pies and things like that. I'll eat them. They're not my favorite, but I'll eat them. Also, oh my gosh, I'm digressing again. Do you guys remember the banquet turkey Thanksgiving meals? Did anybody fuck with that when they were little? Like young, really young? And the frozen meals, those were so good. Sometimes it came with peas, and I actually didn't mind the peas then. Okay, I've digressed way too much. We're gonna get into number 3 right now. Hey, real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want dating support, don't forget to look in the notes below where you can learn all about my guides and how to work with me. And if you want to follow me on my socials, you can find me anywhere at I am Carla Romo. Let's get turned on, which is number 3. Vulnerability builds connection. Oversharing does not. Oversharing is a form of, it can be a form, like if you're oversharing your trauma and things like that, can be a form of unhealed trauma. Okay. That is not a way to bond with people. As somebody who used to try to do that shit back in the day, like I said, when I was in my codependency phases, and it wasn't just a phase, codependency is something that you actively work toward not becoming. But I will say that I thought that was the way to bond and connect. It is not. You can share honestly without trauma dumping. So if somebody says, like, oh, Carla, when I was dating after I moved out of Boston and had a lot of single time to myself, and if you are curious of like, oh, what happened? I have a whole episode about infidelity and how I was cheated on by somebody that I was engaged to when I was living in Boston. And I will tell you, when I went back to dating again, I moved out of Boston, totally new city. People are like, oh, what brought you here? I wasn't like, oh, let me tell you, go listen to Carla Turned On, right? Like, no, I fuck that. I was like, okay, yeah. So I chose to be, my family is from this area, and I chose to like move back and be close with my family. I wasn't gonna sit there and be like, well, actually, this is what happened, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, that was the catalyst for my move, but then I chose to stay in that city and I lived there for a while before I decided to start dating again. So like I wasn't going to sit there and dump into it. This is another really big thing too, is like do not force emotional intimacy. You can't rush things. Emotional intimacy is a true psychological process. Like it takes time to build trust with somebody. And part of building real trust is not oversharing, not trauma dumping. You want to take your time to get to know somebody. You slowly share and slowly open the door. That's kind of how you want to look at it versus just like blah, all at once. Essentially, you want to let the date unfold naturally, but you also want to have boundaries around it too. Like you're not going to go on a marathon first date. Yes, I know lots of you have. I get it. But I will tell you that creates a false sense of emotional intimacy. The date was 5 hours. It was amazing. Okay, great. But like, who is this person in between dates? Do they actually text you back? Are they consistent? Also, it's important after a first date, you wait some time to go on a second date. You're not doing that back to back to back. Because what I talked about in that previous episode of the week before this one, no, last week's episode, whatever. Last week's episode. God, I am like stumbling all over my words today. I hope you guys are following me. I really do. But last week's episode talked about anybody who has controlling behavior, okay, might try to rush things really quickly. Oh, we had our first date. Let's do another one tomorrow night. Or like, let's do it in 2 days. Right. And it's like all of a sudden you've been on like 4 dates in 1 week. No, that's not how you build true intimacy. That's not how you build true connection. It takes time to get to know somebody and date somebody to actually build trust where you feel safe and emotionally connected to somebody. Alrighty, let's switch a little bit on to the taco section, which is talking about coming and orgasms and all the insecurities that one might have around intimacy and sex, which is normal. Lots of people have insecurities around sex and intimacy, and some people's insecurities are different, and some people's are stronger, and some people's are less. It doesn't matter. Insecurities and insecurity. And we're going to talk about what the most common ones are, and to normalize this shit because it can feel isolating sometimes. Because who's going to sit there and out yourself to your friends or to the person that you're about to have sex with that I'm super insecure about how my body looks, right? Like, probably not going to say that. If you did, that's okay. You're owning, like, okay, hey, just I need some time, to like do this because I get a little insecure. That's okay if you're communicating that. But you're not gonna be like, guess what? I have such bad insecurity. I looked at my belly today in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, I don't think my belly looks good when I'm gonna be naked in front of this person. But here are 3 common insecurities that you will find in the bed, having sex, and through intimacy. Number 1 is being good enough in the bed. Okay, so this can be comparing yourself to somebody's past experience partners, right? Like, oh no, I'm worried that they, performed better than me, or I'm worried that I'm just not as good looking. I'm not as good enough. I'm not good enough in the bed, right? No, like that is a normal insecurity to have, but it is also equally important to recognize that whoever you're connecting with, it's not just about the physical stuff. It's not just about whether you can perform, right? Like, what did we talk about earlier on? Not to perform. And so what gets in people's head a lot of times sexually is, oh, I need to perform. No, this is where the communication helps. And I have a guide, no filter, the sex guide every dater needs in the show notes, or you can find it at carlaromo.com or my social media at I am Carla Romo and the links there. But I will tell you right now, have a conversation or talk about it. Hey, do you like this? Does this feel good? What do you like? What don't you like? That's how you're going to be able to beat out that insecurity. Number 2, anxiety about your body image. A lot of men feel this around penis sizes, around being strong enough. I know I'm like calling out dudes right now. Strong enough. A lot of women feel this around their boobs. Are my boobs big enough? Are they too small? I feel flat chested. Do I look toned enough? Am I skinny enough? Am I attractive enough? Like everybody has their own insecurities, which are normal. And if you're like, none of those are mine, it's something else, that's okay too. But I will tell you this right now. Society puts a lot of pressure on the way we should be looking, whether you're a man or a woman, and all this stuff. The reality is that it's not about your physical appearance. It's about feeling good on the inside and feeling confident and bringing whatever that is forward. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but it's a start to be able to start reframing some of those negative thoughts about yourself and being able to remind yourself of like, no, like I'm a good person on the inside. Like it's not about how I look on the outside. It's not the only factor here to be able to connect sexually with someone. And number 3, feeling awkward communicating your sexual needs. Woo! Okay. So this is where people feel like, oh God, I have to hold back a little bit. I'm afraid to ask for my needs to be met. Hello, people pleasers. Or maybe honestly, you had a really bad experience in the past of asking for your needs to be met sexually and they were not respected and they were shut down. And that can also affect you speaking up when it's time to have sex. But I am going to tell you this. Your needs, whether you're a dude or a woman, fucking matter in the bed when you go to have sex. Maybe it's not sex though. Maybe it's just through touching or oral sex or foreplay of any sort of way, right? But I'm going to say this right now. Your needs absolutely matter. And it can feel uncomfortable if you aren't practiced or you're kind of told not to speak up or you've had past experiences that weren't positive, to allow yourself to get comfortable with recognizing what are those needs for me. And maybe you take it slow. Maybe you slowly share what that need is versus sharing every single need up front because it feels too overwhelming at first. You got to take those baby steps because your needs fucking matter. Yes, fucking matter. Like what I did there? Loved this episode? Rate it 5 stars, hit that subscribe button, baby, and leave a review. Do you want to work with me? Grab my dating courses, apply for my coaching at carlaromo.com or find it all in the show notes, and give me a little follow at I am Carla Romo on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Catch you next time and stay tuned. Carla Turned On is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not a substitute for therapy. For professional support, please reach out to a licensed mental health provider.